only this place that was once full of people. Of all the American installations in Newfoundland over the years, this was the first, the busiest, the last to go. But the doors are being locked and barred now at U.S. Naval Facility Argentia. The last gate is closing. And apparently the stars and stripes will never again be raised here in the dawn's early light. Morning, sir. Sir. Pretty good. Petty officer.
Yes, sir.
Petty officer, would you let me in?
No, sir, I cannot let you in.
Why?
Because you are not cleared to enter the compound.
I see. So this is still a top secret place.
We won't consider it top secret, but it is secret. It's classified.
Yeah. Wayne Power, while there are buildings here, I guess they'll need a fire department, even though they may switch from American to Canadian. You'll still be here?
I'll still be here, yes, or so I'm told. I'll still be here.
How long have you been here?
I've been here 20.5 years.
What's it been like for you?
It's been a wonderful experience. It was a good job, good paying job. Lots of opportunity for training and develop my skills, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
How do you feel about the Americans leaving?
It's going to be a big change, especially to this area. Myself, my father worked for the Americans, so all we've known practically, I guess, is the base. It was a good employer and made a lot of changes to the area.
Yeah. You're among the ones who won't lose a job when the changeover occurs.
I hope so. Yeah, we're told that there's going to be fire protection services here until the Development Corporation or whomever takes it over for further development of the facility.
I guess they'll still need them after that, firefighting.
Hopefully. While there's property and life and what have you, it helps to have a fire service around.
How many of you here?
There's 26 of us here right now.
What change will you notice after October 3rd?
We're going to a smaller shift schedule, less men on the shift, 4 shifts instead of 2. And I guess we won't have as many people around. There won't be as big a life hazard and protection for life. And other than that, the job will continue on as it does today.
Assistant Chief. You'll still be known as Assistant Chief?
I'll be known as a fire officer then. There won't be a need for an Assistant Chief, so I'm just the person in charge of each shift.
I see. Wayne, thanks very much.
You're quite welcome.
You're one of the latest ones I've seen of a Newfoundland girl marrying American. They tell me it happened over 20,000 times in the years since this base has existed here. Is this your station now at Argentia?
Yes, we've been here 2 years.
I see. Where were you before this now?
Virginia Beach.
Yeah. How do you feel about leaving now?
Sad.
It's hard.
Very sad.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, family here. He enjoys his hunting and fishing, and it's going to be hard.
And you nabbed one of them while they were here?
I nabbed one, yeah. Someone had to do it.
I nabbed one while I was here.
But I knew once we left here that when we got married someday I would be leaving home. But I figured, well, there's always a chance of getting stationed back here. But now I know when I leave next Saturday, I ain't getting stationed back.
It's for good.
Back for a visit, and that's it.
Yeah. Sad time for a lot of people.
Oh,
yeah.
Very. Not only people on base, but people off base. Going to be hard times, too.
Where do you move now?
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Pennsylvania.
All right. Looking forward to that?
I am. My husband's parents are from Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Oh, so you're going home.
I'm still going to be in the Navy, but I'm going home.
Yeah.
About 2.5 hours from his parents will live.
How do you feel about leaving after all this?
Well, this is my second tour up here. We got married on my first tour, and I spent a total of 6 years here. And I've only been in the Navy now 11, so I spent more than half my time up here, and I'd spend the last 6 up here if I could.
Have they been good? Have they been good years?
Oh yeah, excellent.
Yeah. How have you found the people here?
Beautiful. They're friendly and everything, and I hate to leave.
And you married one of them?
Yeah, I did.
I guess that's the best tribute of all.
Yep.
All right. Thank you both very much.
Thank you very much.
Paul Pendergast, the Americans are moving out. You're among the first Canadians to move in. What are you doing here?
We're taking over responsibility for the T building, and we'll be staying about 5 months. And then after that, the base will no longer be manned. And there are about 23 Canadian Forces personnel moving in this weekend.
Yeah. So are you sort of a caretaker status or anything like that? Not for the whole base, sir?
No.
Just for the T building?
Just for the T building. The upper part of the base will be turned over, not to the Canadian Forces, but to another branch of the Canadian government.
Yeah. Mike Snyder, the T building, exactly what is it?
Well, the T building is the acoustic analysis center for the base, and what that means is we monitor the ocean for sound, and that sound is analyzed here in the T building.
So it's important to keep the facility operating, is it?
What's happening is it's going to be remoted to Halifax, and the Canadian Forces will be taken over as monitors.
But once it's monitored through Halifax, there's no need to have anyone actually in the building itself.
That's the idea. The idea is to have everyone out of this area by February, and all signals remoted to Halifax.
Yeah. What about security on the building? How do you handle
There will
that?
be security on the building.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know how the Canadian Forces plan on handling it. Currently, they're fairly heavy security measures, and you'll see those when I take you down.
Yeah.
More of a visual.
Okay. Sean Connors, you've been here for 3 years. You're just about on the verge of leaving. How do you feel about it?
Well, I'm going to miss the area a lot. I really enjoyed my time up here. So.
But going home is always good, isn't it?
Oh, yes. It's going to be nice to be back and see the family members and visit again before my next tour.
Your 3 years here, what have it been like?
Interesting. A lot of changes. A lot of difference from my last tour. So it's nice to have the homeliness, I guess, the feeling of...
Yeah, but in that time, there have been occasions, I imagine, when you sort of long to be out of it.
Occasionally.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever totally happy being away from home. So.
But we're losing a base that's been with us now since 1941. It's not a very happy moment for Newfoundlanders. I don't know about Americans, but it's certainly not happy for Newfoundland.
Like I said, I'm gonna miss it up here, and it's been a very good tour for me. And if it was still here, I'd probably try to get up here again.
Would you?
Probably.
Okay. And McFarlane, I understand this is your second tour of duty in Argentia.
Yes, sir.
You're just about ready to leave. How do you feel about it?
I have mixed emotions. Excited to be moving on, going on to different things, but at the same time, very sad. It's such a beautiful place, and the Newfoundlanders are wonderful people.
One time it used to be bustling activity here. You can't remember that day, of course, but I guess you can look back and find out a little bit about it.
Yes, sir. In the progress of working on a decommissioning book, we've been able to pull up the pictures from 1941 and so on, and see the ships that were in port, and to compare it to today, it's amazing.
Yeah, indeed.
Such a quiet spot now.
Yeah. Where do you go from here?
The San Diego, aboard the USS John Young.
I see. So the Navy is your career?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I see. If they kept this place open, would you have any qualms about coming back and serving another term?
No, sir. I'd be happy to stay.
Good.
And to get your reactions of being here, but you've been here in a 2.5-year term, and then you're back again.
Yes, sir.
And you got to know the people of the province, I gather.
Yes, sir.
And you have very positive things, I gather, to say.
Not a bad
Looks like I'm leading you into the questioning here, but it's but you're leaving on in a week.
Yes, sir. Next Saturday.
Mr. Sterling, what's your reaction as you see them go?
Tremendous sadness. I mean, I think that the security of North America is very much involved in this location, this base, and I feel that this base would be the last one you should close, frankly. And it's very sad, and I think that in retrospect, like most things, they'll regret that they, I mean, that is the Canadians, that they didn't maintain, because you can see what happened to the other part of the base that was relinquished. I mean, it became a disasterville. And I think it's very important. I think it's very sad that the United States has leaving this location. It's a big loss of a fairly large industry, and it's a loss of some wonderful people and great experience.
And this is so final in that they've given up their right to return.
Well,
they've given up the 99-year lease.
That's why it's such an incredible country. That's why you got a superpower, because I mean, you're seeing it right now in Haiti. I mean, without the United States Army, Navy, and Air Force, I'd be speaking either German or Japanese right now.
Yeah. What would you tell the Canadian government in these circumstances, though? To maintain it as a strategic site?
Well, you maintain it as an industrial center, but they certainly should maintain all the facilities. You've got the landing necessary to get in and out and so on. I mean, in North America, there's 50 wars going on this planet right now. And it's very important that we maintain the security, in my opinion.
Chris, you've been here, you're telling me, for 11 months. You're about to leave. How do you feel?
I'm really going to miss Newfoundland. I really like the area. I enjoyed my time here.
What about Newfoundlanders?
I found them to be one of the best kinds of Canadians in the country, and they're best people in North America. I've really enjoyed working around them, living around them. They're some of the best people, most hospitable people. Had Christmas dinner, and best kind.
Well, we're glad you enjoyed. Where are you going now?
I'm going to Superstation, Crete in Greece.
You may find the weather a little bit different there.
A lot different. It'll be much.
But you've got a base there, have you?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Mike, a lot of people are going to feel unhappy, upset, perhaps a little bit angry over the bank closing. What do you say for that?
Well, I think people have to look at it this way. They have to take it in a overall perspective. This base has been here for 53 years, and it's provided employment for all those 53 years for thousands of people. It's provided millions of dollars into the economy for 53 years. That's 53 years more employment than they would have had without it. It's not necessarily, this base, it was lucky that it was here.
Yeah.
I think people need to think about that.
They need to keep that in perspective,
right? As
they shed perhaps a few tears over your departure.
Yes, I definitely need to keep that in perspective. It's been here, and the base has served its purpose, and now it's time to move on. I know that's easy for someone like myself to say, who is moving on, but I just hope that people can keep that in perspective.
Mike, the hot spots on the base that are concerning the Canadian government are Environmental Canada. When you say a hot spot, how really dangerous is it from a point of view of contamination or health?
Well, I tell you, I'm not the person to ask, but the Environment Canada people are. What I was told by Environment Canada people on a previous interview was that when they say hot spot, all they meant is that it's an area of interest for them to go back and check further to see if there are more contaminants there. So, there's certain spots that we all know are going to be higher in problems than others.
What would be, for example, the most major area on this base that would be a concern?
That I cannot tell you. I don't know.
I mean, ammunition dumps or
no ammo dumps.
No ammo dumps. Was there nuclear waste or any nuclear bombs stored here?
In the past, I don't know. I can't confirm anything or deny anything about that. The problem nowadays, there's nothing. We have the only weapons on this base are small arms. And we haven't even had a submarine pull in here or anything along those lines, nuclear-powered vessel pull in here for ages.
But there was nuclear-powered vessels in here.
I can't even give you a year if there was. Right. I don't know.
Well, it's the Environmental Canada, though, said it was no worse than any other base after 53 years.
Right, and they brought out examples, something about a Canadian base in Germany that's being that they're pulling out of as being in similar, if not possibly worse condition. Actually, probably, I don't know. They said,
if you hired 3 experts at $100,000 a year for 1 year for $300,000 in a base of 10 miles or 5 miles, surely those 3 guys at $100,000 a year, 3 of them $300,000 instead of $5 million, could give the answers we're looking for.
In terms of what there is and where there is, once again, I'm not the environmental specialist. I don't know. I'll tell you.
Mike, is there any cleanup going on here now?
Yes, there's cleanup. You know, whose standards that meets, I don't know.
But what is being done?
I know they removed several fuel tanks from the area that were supposedly were leaking. They took them out, destroyed them, and sold them to the metal dump on the north side. And other examples I can't tell you right offhand.
Any PCBs being taken care of?
Now, people are bringing up the question of PCBs and PCB lockers on the north side and all that. There are 2 PCB lockers on the north side. They are owned by Environment Canada. They went up after the base was open. They're there to store PCBs. So that's not right. To safely store PCBs. Right. They're not an American...
well, when you say to the average viewer, a PCB, I mean, would you spell out what a PCB is for people who think maybe it's a new fruit or something?
Well, I don't know what the initials mean. I know it's used in electrical equipment as an insulation. And it was common practice in the past to use it.
Like asbestos.
But exactly. It's not being used anymore, though.
I can't answer that. I really don't know.
Certainly not being used publicized.
Mike, this looks to be a beautifully equipped library. What's going to happen to it after the Americans leave?
Well, I don't know, and as of right now, I don't think anyone does. Once everything on this facility is turned over to the Canadian government on October 1st, then the Canadian government decides what happens to it. The U.S. has absolutely no say where any of this material goes.
But you're leaving a lot behind. Probably
$630,000 in small equipment, and the original value of the base is somewhere around, in terms of what's still here, and this is not depreciated, and this is not figured in for the change in time, of course, but it's around $46 million, not including any of the acoustics.
Now, this place is full of books,
right,
which will become available to somebody. I imagine you got a lot of computers and other items of that kind.
Books, computers, sporting equipment, camping equipment, dental office, medical equipment, ambulances being turned over, fire trucks are staying, everything's staying.
And you're giving it all to the Canadian authorities.
Right.
And they decide what happens to it from there.
Right. Yeah. Right. Once, like I said, once October 1st happens, the base is turned over to the Canadians. That's it. The U.S. has no say where any of this goes. It is Canadian property.
$46 million worth up for grabs.
Well, that's in terms of the original construction cost of the buildings. I'd say in terms of small equipment, $630,000.
Yeah.
And, but again, we had two senators fighting for this base, and maybe one of the Kentucky fellows to around.
This base for about the last 10 or so years is at around $20 million.
Last 10 years. 10 years.
Give $2 million a year.
$20 million
a year.
Yes. So now, the thing about it is we're also not talking about just guys off base going out and buying food. We're talking about the actual base expenditures.
And that's only these 10 years.
Right. And that's in terms of salaries. That's in terms of contracts. That's an estimate.
But most of the money would have been spent in the 40s and 50s, wouldn't it?
Well, then again, you also got to take into account the fact that money was, things were worthless in terms of depreciation, appreciation.
But there's a lot of fact.
We're here for the interim operations period. It's called.
This is your work.
Well, I just arrived here today. I just got off the ferry. And I'm going to be here for the next 50 days.
I guess it's the outport from here on is Labrador. I've heard.
That's why you have an active account.
Are you constantly doing that? I mean, that's constantly your work on bases around various of them.
My watch is
and in Groton, Connecticut, when I'm stationed at, we have a lot of court martials there also.
What would they be for minors? Mostly minors?
Most of them are minors.
AWOL and that kind of stuff.
Right. That mostly those, a lot of drug cases. We do have some assault cases.
Are they dismissed with the ending the heaviest thing that can happen, of course, would be depending only on it.
The question of severage for the Newfoundland workers is still an issue that hasn't been solved. Ken Brown, for example, feels that he's been betrayed, that the agreement that was made for the number of weeks that Newfoundlanders had worked on the base would be honored by the United States authorities. The question is, once the agreement is signed at 4 o'clock on Tuesday, who is responsible for the severage? Who is responsible for the maintenance of the buildings worth $47 million after the 1 year is over and the federal government washes its hands of its responsibility, and the people of Placentia are then presented with the challenge of maintaining and protecting this property, covering many, many acres? The questions remain unanswered to this moment.
And then the United States Navy, who's been here as custodians and stewards of this base for 50 years with sovereignty, surely they could turn over to the Canadian government any a report of where there's any toxin material or any dangerous material. Couldn't they just with a
No file? Well, I'll tell you what, there are no files. If you look back, the way things were done from the 40s to the 50s to the 60s or 70s, so on. What's common practice then is not common practice now. Asbestos in buildings, common practice then. Now, forbidden. PCBs for electrical work, common practice, not anymore. And that's the problem. Things that were common practice, why would you log that? So they would common practice, they'd take it, rip it out, throw it in a dump or something along those lines. You never know where exactly. Now that's the problem with the full environmental report from the states. But by the same token, I think people are, from what Environment Canada has said in interviews where I've been there, when I've actually talked to Environment Canada people, not any other government officials, they said that this base is no worse than any base that has been around for 53 years. It's got a few hot spots. It's got some areas that need to be tested. But basically, all they have are preliminary readings that certain areas are high. And they feel, like I said, this is the one that I talked to from Environment Canada, that the base can be reclaimed. Depending on the amount of money one wants to spend, how much of it can be reclaimed, right? If you want a total reclamation, I mean, even the dump you want to build on it or something like that, or you want to farm on it, it's going to take a lot. But if you want to set up industry on it, or industry just on the areas where industry was, it's probably not going to take that much.
Mike, when you say a hot spot in the sense of what real hazard?
The only thing that he mentioned was PCBs and asbestos. And now, in terms of that, what they did is they did just stick a sensor in the ground and take preliminary readings. That's all.
Why don't you come over here? I get it to you.
Absolutely, as soon as you're ready.
Yeah, I get it to you.
Well, let me get my cover.
The endless need for...
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't think, if you talk to the Environment Canada people, and you don't talk, or not necessarily don't talk, but if you listen to the Environment Canada people, not the government politicians who are just spitting out rhetoric, you're going to get a fair, you don't have to that's the truth.
No, okay.
I mean, they're not out to get us. They're not out to get the Canadian government.
The hot spots on the base that are concerning the Canadian government are Environmental Canada. When you say a hot spot, how really dangerous is it from a point of view of contamination or health?
Well, I tell you, I'm not the person to ask, but the Environment Canada people.
What we're doing is we're going to get at the facts. The U.S. government announced a few days ago that they're going to spend, they say, $5 million to undertake a number of remedial measures. Those include removing some 30 underground fuel storage tanks. That was announced 2 days ago as a big part of this package, but that work's been underway for a month. There's nothing new there. They've announced they're going to seal off a landfill site, dump. I don't think there's anything extraordinary about that you would seal off or cover over a landfill site. They've announced they're going to clean up one PCB contaminated site. Well, we're glad to see that. We're glad to, in a sense, have acknowledged responsibility by announcing these measures. And they've announced one or two other things. But the sum and substance of the package is there's nothing new or unusual or extraordinary about it, nothing that would suggest this is a serious attempt, first of all, at assessing the situation so we know what the facts are. Then, when we're in possession of the facts, we can describe the course of action required to clean up this site. So our response, as you know, when we heard the American announcement, was good. We're pleased they're doing something. It's an acknowledgement of their responsibility, but it isn't enough. Now, they're leaving, as you said, in a few days, the base. There hasn't been a proper environmental assessment. We've been asking for one. We can either continue to make representation for that proper environmental assessment, or we can pay for it ourselves.
Minister Tobin has not answered the key question: who is responsible at the end of 12 months if we discover that the hot spots will require many, many years to be cleaned up? Who will be responsible to maintain this incredible base when we've already seen what's happened when the northern area was left and vandals destroyed the buildings? Everything was torn to pieces. Over 11,000 windows were broken. And this incredible building, we're now seeing the library and the stained glass windows in the chapel, is being turned over within 30 hours to Canadian responsibility, and then at the end of 12 months to the people of Placentia and the association. Do we have any conception of the problem that we may be faced in the coming disaster?